Welcome to the MLB Slate Breakdown. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Brent Hyde. Taking a look at tonight's 9-game MLB slate. Decent slate here. We have some pitching options, which is always nice. We don't have to dig through the garbage like we've had to in the past.
No, a lot of good arms at the top. I guess three good arms at the top, and some interesting options in the middle. It's definitely a pretty solid slate for pitching, and a pretty solid slate for stacks, I think.
Yeah, we got some straightforward options here. I think there's obviously a couple contrarian ways to go as well. Let's start with this Colorado Philly game. Nick Pivetta taking on Tyler Anderson. I don't have any interest in Tyler Anderson here, but I do have some interest in Nick Pivetta.
Yeah, Pavetta is a guy made it into my pitching article. It's one of those scenarios where I realize he's been bad recently, but he's still a guy with a decent strikeout rate. I mean, 27.5% strikeout rate this season. Some pretty solid numbers across the board, and he basically just comes down to it's a matchup where Colorado absolutely terrible on the road. Second worst offense in baseball when you get them outside of Coors. They're 23.3% strikeout rates, 72 WRC plus, and a 278 team WOBA. It's one of those situations where he's just too cheap to overlook in this spot, I think.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw the price on him. I was kind of expecting him to be I don't know, maybe 9K, just because we've seen Pivetta climb that high in the past, and at home against a Rockies team on the road. I just know he struggles, like you mentioned, but it's just kind of all right, 7.5, I'll take that as far as an SP2 goes. I really don't mind him here at all.
No, I think he's going to be the chalky SP2 option. Him and Luke Weaver, who we'll get to a little bit later, I think are going to be the chalky SP2 options in that price range. And I think Pivetta is definitely a guy that I have a ton of interest in.
Yeah, me too. The only name that really stood out is Charlie Blackmon, as he usually does against righties, just mainly because he has that fastball pretty well and also that curveball that he throws a good amount. But outside of that, not too much interest.
Yeah, I guess DJ LeMahieu, another guy that has decent numbers against curveballs, at least contact-wise. But, yeah, nobody here that I'm really overly excited about.
No. Philly side of things here, I definitely don't mind some bats, and I think they're a contrarian way to go tonight as far as a stack. It's just going to be probably a matter of what that lineup comes out to look like, but I definitely have some interest in a few guys here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Tyler Anderson, a guy dating back to last season, really bad against lefties. 362 WOBA allowed, 259 ISO allowed. 37% fly balls. So I would generally like Odubel Herrera and some of those guys. I guess Caesar will obviously be from the other side of the plate, but I definitely do like him here. I don't know. It's always tough for me to get too terribly excited about Phillies, though.
No, because they're always such a letdown. But I feel like they're the team that I can't stop using in GPPs at times. I like Rhys Hoskins, obviously, here, against a lefty, 397 WOBA, 291 ISO against them dating back to last year. We get a pitcher that doesn't throw that slider. Yes, he throws changeup, cutters, other stuff, but at least he doesn't throw that slider, which helps out Hoskins.
Yeah, that is the one good thing going for Hoskins at this point is that he's facing a pitcher that doesn't throw sliders. So, and I mean, a guy that is just absolutely raked against lefties dating back to last season. So he should be in a pretty good spot. And if you look at his numbers against Anderson's fastball, I mean, 493 WOBA, 429 ISO, still limited sample, only 26 batted ball events, but pretty good numbers.
Yeah. Carl Santana stood out against that fastball as well, 465 WOBA, 345 ISO. A guy who's been, okay against lefties dating back to last year, 327 WOBA, 160 ISO. I don't mind these guys, and obviously Aaron Altherr should get into the lineup here. He's a cheap value outfielder who's hit lefties well over the last 2 seasons.
His numbers against cutters are insane. 413 WOBA, 278 ISO, 61% hard contact rating, and a decent contact rating at 74%. A pretty decent option. I wish he was batting a little bit higher in that lineup. I think he's projected 7th. That does kind of stink, but 3,200 on DraftKings is pretty good price for him.
Yeah, if Kingery or any of the catchers or whoever's in there is over him, it is going to upset me a little bit.
Yeah, the Phillies are like that though. Like it seems like
Exactly.
they roll out a different crappy lineup every single night with guys just peppered wherever. Like they probably just pick names out of a hat at this point. It's like Carlos Santana locks in the cleanup spot, and then like everyone else is just up in the air.
Yeah, that's Kapler though. Washington, New York next year. Yeah, Eric Fred. Is it Fetty? I don't think we've ever
Fetty Wap.
Fetty. we're rolling with that. Eric Fetty Wap for Sonny Gray. Always a good day when Sonny Gray's on. I can tell your mood is just it's enlightened.
It's gray day. It is gray day. He is a fraud. He is still a fraud. I don't care that he's had two really good games back to back. He's still a fraud.
Yeah, and I know he's been better, obviously, or looks better against lefties, but still 38% hard contact rates. I'm not necessarily buying like just fading some of these Washington bats. I think they're an interesting stack, although Bryce Harper may or may not be in the lineup. He took 2 hit by pitches yesterday and then left the game. That would be obviously a downside, but I mean, there's a lot of lefties to target here in a good ballpark with some power.
Yeah, like I don't even know that Bryce Harper matters that much. Just, I mean, if you look at Twitter, Bryce Harper is bad at baseball just because, he goes through these stretches where he just can't hit, and he's just the worst baseball player in the world, according to Twitter. I'm being sarcastic, by the way. I hope he's in the lineup because he would be a guy that I absolutely do love in the spot against Sonny Gray, but Adam Eaton in the leadoff spot, definitely someone that I have a lot of interest in. Trey Turner, Matt Adams. I wish they would move Matt Adams up in the lineup. He probably will bat in place of Harper if Harper is out. But this is a stack that I really like, and I would be willing, even though I don't have I don't think Daniel Murphy is still healthy. Like I would be willing to at least take a shot on him if I was stacking these bats.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, he's got decent numbers off that fastball, but also the curveball as well. 356 well, about 192 ISO, 83% contact rate. I mean, you do have a couple of guys obviously have the power off, Gray's curve. It's just a matter of making contact in this spot. Yeah, I'm with you. I think they're going to go overlooked here.
They will definitely go overlooked, and it is a good spot for them.
Yeah, and while Juan Soto does have power against righties, just so we are clear. It hasn't shown yet. It's been all against lefties, but he does have some power against righties.
He does have just power in general, so he's a guy that you could look at too.
Yeah. I don't think we should rule out Trey Turner in this spot as well. We haven't talked about a righty or like Rendon. Gray has been getting hit by righties pretty good this year, 358 WOBA, 200 ISO allowed, 38% hour contact. So those guys are obviously in play.
Yeah, they definitely are. Like I would definitely have some Turner and probably Rendon, but like it's kind of tough, especially on like DraftKings and FanDuel, to go with Rendon over some of the other third base options that we're going to get to a little bit later.
Yeah. Other side of this one, Fetty Wap, a guy who hasn't pitched much. I don't mind some of the Yankees. They're going to be popular, I feel, here. For me, I think it's as usual going down with some of these cheaper guys like Gleyber Torres, 4K, given the fact that his numbers against sinkers are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yes. Fetty is a guy that don't really have a lot of innings on him. And the Yankees are going to be a very, very, very popular stack because the Yankees pretty much always are. And as you mentioned, it's the guys towards the bottom of the lineup that I have the most interest in. Didi Gregorius is heating up, 2 homers last night, and he's apparently continuing this trend where every other month he's really, really, really hot. And so this is that month for him. So I do kind of like him. I mean, we're talking about a guy with a 243 ISO against righties dating back to last season. And then Hicks, Andujar, and Torres would be the guys that I really, really like here. And don't overlook Romine if he's in the lineup over Sanchez. Like I know Sanchez was out yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know what they're trying to do with him. I know he's obviously he's hitting under 200, but I don't know if that's the reason or not.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that. Maybe they think he's hurt and they're just trying to rest him without putting him on the DL.
It could be the case. I don't mind Greg Bird in the spot as well. Cheap first base option. Obviously, we talked about him a little bit against sinkers, a guy who gets some good lift on it. He's under 4K on DraftKings if you need someone cheap.
Yep.
So, and if we have to mention, if you want to use Judge and Stanton, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, those guys, they're fine.
Yeah. Minnesota, Detroit, Jose Barrios taking on Matt Boyd. I like Barrios here tonight. I think he's going to be my kind of pivot away from like a Bauer and Cole and some GPP lineups, and that's kind of how I'm going to use him here.
Yeah, I have a lot of interest in him, and especially now that Miggy is out for the rest of the season. Barrios, the guy, has been pitching really, really, really good. Like over his last 5 games, he's got a 2.63 ERA, like 30, almost 32% strikeout rate. Already, we just saw him against the Tigers a few games ago. Struck out 9 batters, allowed a couple earned runs. It's just a really, really good spot for him. Like I know the Tigers are not an offense that strikes out a ton against righties, but with like we're talking about what 21%. But it's such a good spot for him, and I do really, really like him as a pivot off the other guys.
Yeah, I do too. Like that curveball is absolutely filthy. It's a Tigers team that doesn't hit it particularly well. You have like Victor Martinez and Jose Iglesias with some decent contact rates, but we're not worried about either of those guys.
No, and we have to consider the fact that dating these numbers, like how they're performing against those pitches, are dating back to like 2016. I imagine if you looked at like this year, Victor Martinez probably not good numbers against it.
No, and these guys still have like Iglesias 232, Woba against Victor Martinez 281. So,
yeah.
I have zero interest in like targeting against Barrios here.
Yeah, I'm not looking at it either.
Minnesota against Matt Boyd. When is it going to happen?
Never. Matt Boyd is just going to give up 1 earned run tonight. It's going to be Ehire Adrianza, and that's it.
Oh, man. It's got to come at some point here. Like, I don't mind taking some shots against them. I'm just sick of doing it.
Lies. It's never going to happen.
Man. Fly ball rates, like 50% to both sides. Hard contacts, like up. It's just like, God, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a few guys that I think you can look at here. There are games where Matt Boyd does get shelled. Like it does happen from time to time, like where he does give up like 4 earned runs like he did against Toronto. It happens from time to time. It does. So like I don't mind taking a shot on some of these bats. Again, Adrianza is just continuing to rake. Hit a grand slam last night. He would be a really, really good cheap option, and he is still 2,900 on DraftKings. So there you go.
Yeah, I'll ride the hot streak there. I'm not terribly high on the Twins. Just Matt Boyd's been relying on that slider a good amount. It's just this team sucks against sliders. I mean, even Rosario, when Rosario's not that great against sliders, it's still 194 ISO and 71% contact rate, but he's always the guy that always stands out against some of these pitches, and like no one else does.
He hired Adrianza 75% contact rate against the pitch.
Yeah. If you want to use these guys in GPPs, it's fine. I feel like that's kind of the only way that you can go. Adrianza is obviously a cash game guy just because he's priced so cheap and he's been mashing lefties.
Yeah, and like I don't mind like Kepler here, who has been mashing lefties as well. He's an interesting guy to consider too.
Yep. Next one here, we got San Francisco, Miami. This is such a kind of meh game tonight. You got Caleb Smith and Andrew Suarez. I feel like both these guys could actually have a decent start, although I kind of don't mind some Miami bats.
Yeah, actually kind of don't mind some bats on both sides of this plate, but if we're looking at Miami first, I mean, Suarez is a guy dating back to last season. Really bad numbers, like 218 ISO, 369 WOBA to righties. Brian Anderson, a guy that I talked about a little bit yesterday, continues to hit pretty darn well. 208 ISO, 388 WOBA against lefties this season. And then you're going to get like Real Muto in there that hits lefties pretty darn well. I don't mind both of those guys. I think Anderson's the most interesting of the bunch.
Yeah, I'm with you. If you want to get weird, like Lewis Brinson is actually not bad against lefties, and his contact rate goes up. Still striking out over 20% of the time, but it's not as bad as it is against righties, and we've seen some power, especially the speed. This is a guy who hits one the gap, and it's a triple for days. He's interesting here in this spot.
Yeah, I don't hate going there at all.
Giants side, you'll have to sell me a little bit here. I feel like Caleb Smith is decent, and that slider could give the Giants a little bit of trouble.
It's mostly just like there's a couple guys that I think are interesting options, like Longoria is someone that I do have a little bit of interest in. And some of these guys just hit lefties really well. I mean, you have Posey, like I said, Longoria. You have Brandon Crawford, who this season 232 ISO, 377 WOBA against lefties. Nick Hundley hits him pretty well. Mac Williamson hits him pretty well. Like, there's just guys that hit lefties pretty darn well. Like, I know Smith is a guy that has a lot of strikeout upside, but like, I just don't mind taking a shot on some of these bats because no one's really going to have interest in them because Caleb Smith has been that good this season.
And like, I mean, the hard contact rates have just been absolutely insane against lefties this year. Like, there's a lot of positive regression heading for a couple of these guys. But I mean, Posey's been doing his usual against lefties. McCutcheon, I feel like, has been really unlucky. He's also been feeling the factors of just playing in the NL West in general.
Yeah,
and like, it just sucks.
Yeah, and like if you look, like he's throwing that fastball about 57% of the time. And there's a lot of these guys that hit that fastball really well. Like I mentioned, Longoria, Brandon Crawford, Nick Hundley, guys that hit that fastball really well. Like Longoria has a 50% hard contact against it dating back to 2016.
Yeah, and he's been matching lefties all year long. Like, he looks actually healthy and back.
Yes, he does.
Anyone else here?
No.
Cleveland and Chicago. Dylan Covey take on Trevor Bauer. Bauer's another guy who's been pitching excellent. I mean, 4 double-digit strikeout games in his last 5. Has strikeout upside here against this White Sox team. I'll go back to the one with Bauer here. I feel like he's actually kind of too cheap.
Yeah, this White Sox offense, like I know, like Moncada and Yolmer Sanchez went back to back with homers last night, but like this offense still strikes out a lot. 27% against righties, Bauer 30% strikeout rate this season. There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of strikeouts in that lineup for Bauer, and I definitely don't hate trying to squeeze like Bauer and Barrios or Bauer and Cole in lineups if you really wanted to. Would be a pretty good way to go. Bauer, a guy that I wrote up in the pitching article, it's just a really, really, really good spot for him.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I think price considered, he might be my favorite on the slate here. Just, Cole 13-2, I might just kind of go with Bauer.
Yeah, if I'm looking at like top tier arms, he's probably, I don't know, it's really tough. Like he's like 1A and Barrios is like 1B for me just because I am just a Barrios truther.
Yeah, and I think just price wise, like it just factors into my decision making a little bit more.
Yeah.
Cleveland side of things here against Dylan Covey. This is a guy still getting up a lot of hard contact, but everything's been on the ground.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give up on picking on Dylan Covey at this point, and I think I'm gonna give up on the Indians at this point. This seems like the stretch where when they started the season where they were just ice cold at the plate. Like they just have not been able to put things together recently. Like I mean, times are tough when you're getting like one hit by James Shields. Like I just don't know. I don't know what to do with my life at this point.
Yeah, they only put up like 4 runs the night before too. It's been kind of a slow series. This was supposed to be a series where they put up like 40 runs in 3 games.
Yeah, it's just, man, I'm Cleveland sucks. Screw you, Drew Carey, and your Cleveland Rocks.
I just feel like, I mean, I don't know. I think there's going to be other ways to go. And because I'm paying up for pitching, I'm probably not paying like 5.2 for Lindor or 5.6 for Ramirez. Like, I don't mind like Yonder Alonso or, Lonnie Chisenhall. But like Alonso, I mean, against sinkers has obviously been pretty good. I mean, 400 WOBA, 242 ISO, gets some good lift on it. Like, it would be the cheaper guys, I think, here.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of tough. Like, if you look against sinkers, Cesar Ramirez, 255 ISO, like 92% contact rate. That's some pretty decent numbers. Brantley has like a 96% contact rate and almost 40% hard contact rate against it. If you wanted to stack Cleveland, because I don't think they're going to be a popular high-price stack, you could go with Brantley, Ramirez, obviously Lindor, and then I would probably round it out with Yonder.
Yeah, me too. Kipnis doesn't have bad numbers against sinkers. He's just hasn't been hitting the ball entirely well this year.
It's just Jason Kipnis.
Next year he'll be fine though. It's every other year.
Assuming he's not hurt.
Yeah, that's true. Moving on here, we got Cincinnati, Kansas City. Jason Hamill taking Tyler Mahle. I will go back to the well with this Reds stack. Let us down last night, but it's just another good spot.
Jason Hamill is just not good.
No,
like it
no,
just comes down. It just comes down to that. Like the dude is probably going to end up leading or being like top 5 in the majors and runs allowed again this year, just because he is that bad. He needs more potato chips, I think.
That hard contact is insane. I've had grades lower in classes than his hard contact rate. It's 49% to lefties, 44% to righties this year. Ton of fly balls to lefties, which stands out here, obviously, against a Reds team that's going to chuck out, 5-6 lefties. If you want Tucker Barnhart, another cheap catching option. He's been hitting second, homered last night.
Yeah, it's a really, really good spot for Barnhart. He's one of my favorite catching options on the slate. And if you look like Hamill, a guy throwing that sinker almost 40% of the time, a lot of hard contact on it, and like only a 44% ground ball rates on that sinker. Scooter Gennett, a guy that just absolutely mashes those 439 WOBA, 262 ISO against it, but like Tucker Barnhart, 389 WOBA, Scott Schebler, 407 WOBA, Joey Votto, 437 WOBA, Jesse Winker, 329 WOBA. Like all these guys hit that pitch really, really well.
Yeah, sign me up here. They'll be in the stacking article. And they're all, really, really kind of cheap outside of like Gennett. Because I feel like Votto, like 4.6 is kind of always a nice price for Votto.
Yeah, that's a pretty good price for him. And even like considering Scooter's upside, like I don't think 4,700 for him is that bad of a price.
No, I don't either. Actual second base with some pop.
Yeah, and like he's probably one of the best cash game second basemen on the slate just because he's so freaking consistent.
Yeah, I don't think we've really talked about a second baseman outside of like Torres yet.
No, not really.
Yeah, like you mentioned LeMahieu, but like I would rather go Torres and Gennett here.
Yeah, I guess one second baseman to consider. If we're going back for a second, would be Alan Hansen. He's a cheap second baseman. I completely overlooked him.
Yeah, for sure. Kansas City side of things here. It's the lefties, and there's just not that many in here. I don't mind Moustakas. He's obviously cooled off a bit, but 4-1 for Moustakas against a guy who's getting pummeled by left-handers. I don't mind going there.
Yeah, I'm definitely not afraid to go with Moustakas. A guy 266 ISO, 376 WOBA against lefties this season. Really, really good spot for him. Mahle's just 270 at ISO, 4 WOBA allowed to lefties this season. 40% hard contact, 40% fly ball rate. I would say the lefties are in a pretty decent spot here.
Yeah, and he's a guy who throws that fastball like over 60% of the time. The problem is there's just not enough lefties here. Like it's him and Alex Gordon, Ryan Goins. Like if you want cheap options, like I don't mind going there.
Yeah, Goins would be a guy at the bottom of that lineup that's at least interesting. They need lefties. Like they just like Abraham Almonte.
Yeah. I just don't have anyone here. Like, can Lucas Duda please come back already?
Yeah, that would be pretty nice. Like, I guess if you really wanted to, like, you could sprinkle in like a Whit Merrifield and a Perez and like a Soler, just because, they could get a hold of one here. But it's mostly the lefties that I have the interest in.
Yeah, I'm with you. San Diego, St. Louis. St. Louis just a massive letdown last night. But I'm going back here, and you mentioned Luke Weaver, another going to be popular SP2. I'm never terribly high on Luke Weaver, but obviously he's a fine cash game guy.
I just want to know what the hell happened to the strikeouts. Like his strikeout rate last season was 28.6%. He's sitting at 20.6% this season, and like there hasn't been anything drastic about his like pitch mix change hardly at all. Like I just want to know where the strikeouts went, because like that was his saving grace last season. I think he's still in a fine spot as a decent option against the Padres. Like I know they got to Mikolas twice last night. I think Hosmer took him yard, and I think someone else got to him a little bit, but they're still striking out like 25.8% of the time. They're still really bad against right-handed pitching. It's still a good spot for Weaver, who is really cheap. I think Pivetta has the higher upside in that price range.
Oh, I agree with you there. Strikeout stuff for Pivetta just seems to be much better on Graves or compared to Weaver there. It's just I'm with you. And we've seen the strikeouts they drop against lefties, and you're still going to probably get 4 or 5 lefties in this lineup.
Yeah. It basically, like, I think he's going to be the popular cash game option. And so if you're rolling with the chalk, you just eat Weaver.
Yeah, I mean, good favorite to get a win there at home. But yeah, anyone else or anyone you want to talk against him?
Nah.
Yeah, I don't even feel like playing like an Eric Hosmer to even beat contrarian.
No, I guess like Travis Jankowski.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like Spangenberg's been getting going a little bit of late.
He's been like pretty darn good like over his past 10 games. He would be a guy, he's really cheap.
204 ace against righties this year, and his hard contact's over 40%.
Yeah, and like 961 OPS, 294 on base percentage over his last 10 games, 3 homers, 6 RBIs, a walk, 9 hits. That's not terrible.
No, you can throw a Spangenberg in the outfield, I feel.
3,300, not a bad price.
Oh. St. Louis, Lauer's a guy that we've been targeting each time he's on the slate. Over 400 WOBA against both sides of the plates, but mainly look at the righties here. Insert yesterday's pot into today's.
I almost went back because I know I wrote up the Cardinals the last time they faced Eric Lauer, and I almost went back and just pulled that up just to give my analysis. But Eric Lauer, bad. Cardinals, good against lefties. I'm throwing out last night's dud. There's a lot of guys that I have a lot of interest in here, and obviously Jose Martinez is still one of the hottest hitters in baseball of late, and it's really tough to overlook his numbers against lefties. But like Ozuna, Yachty, Jed Jerko, Bader, Munoz, I really do kind of like the stack. Like if you're wanting to get a little bit of the cheaper exposure, going like Yachty, Jerko, Bader, and Munoz at the bottom of that order.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like all those guys, I mean, under like 3,800. Jose Martinez took a little bit of a price bump, but I mean, his numbers against lefties and his numbers against cutters and that fastball range are just insane.
Yeah, generally, whenever you put up like a 4,500 WOBA over like the last 2 weeks and you're hitting like 70% hard contact, like your price is probably going to take a little bit of a jump.
Yeah, something changed there with the Cardinals. Hard contact and their fly ball rates have been up.
Maybe they stopped listening to Matt Carpenter.
Maybe. for a guy who's come around a little bit of late, you've been still giving him a hard time.
I have to. Like I know he's been a little bit better of late, but I still have to give him a hard time just because like I just don't understand what his approach was at the start of the season.
No, I don't either. Yeah, Cardinals on play. We don't need to talk much about him. Houston and Oakland next year. Garrett Cole taking on Paul Blackburn. Cole's obviously a guy who's plenty of strikeout stuff here. I mean, 38% strikeout rate this season. Gets an A's team that doesn't hit well at home. They have some strikeout bats. It just all comes down to the 13-2 price tag for me. And if I'm kind of getting the outings that we've gotten from Cole, I feel like I'd rather go Bauer or Barrios.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But like, I feel like Cole's outside of Bauer, probably the safest bet on this slate. Like he still has a pretty good chance of going like 7 innings with like double-digit strikeouts plus a win and like 1 earned run allowed. So like there's still a pretty good chance he puts up like 30-plus DraftKings points tonight. If you want to pay for him, feel free. He's obviously the highest strikeout arm on the slate. There's really not a whole lot to say about him.
No, and I'm not saying that he's been bad of late. I mean, facing the Angels, Giants, Indians, Sox, Rangers, and he's been putting up 7-8 strikeouts apiece. Still been very solid. It's the 2K discount that kind of comes down to me, but obviously I have no issue with Cole.
Yeah, I agree there.
Houston side things against Blackburn. Blackburn's a guy dating back to last year. once again, hasn't pitched a ton, but 322 WOBA to righties, 158 ISO, 263 WOBA to lefties. Doesn't allow a lot of hard contact. He's a ground ball guy. I don't know if we see Houston kind of pop off like last night.
Yeah, I'm not sure we do either. I don't have a lot of interest in Houston. I usually don't have a lot of interest in Houston just because they're always super chalky, and I just never want to roll with that chalk. But if I was looking at them, I would look at the guys that hit sliders and sinkers really well, because that's pretty much all Blackburn throws. Like, he's throwing that slider almost 40% of the time. You have Bregman and Altuve and Gurriel that have decent contact numbers against it. So does Josh Reddick. Reddick's definitely interesting because he's a guy that I've historically has hit like ground ball pitchers really, really well. He has a 222 ISO, 328 WOBA against that slider, a 396 WOBA against sinkers. So he's a guy that I think I have the most interest in from the Houston side of this game.
I'm with you. Gaddis, a guy 309 ISO against sinkers. Like you mentioned, like it's the guys that hit sinkers. Although I'm not going to go back to Gaddis. A huge night last night. I think I might just take a night off.
He's been really good over the past like 2 weeks. It's kind of interesting. Like, he's starting to heat up a little bit. The white bear is white hot.
Yeah, he's still cheap. So if you do need a catching option, I feel like he's fine.
Yeah, I think I'd rather go with Yachty though.
Yeah, better ballpark for sure. Well, a little bit better. Moving on here, last game now we got Texas and Los Angeles. Kenta Maeda take on Cole Hamels. Any interest in pitching here?
Nope, I will not touch Kenta Maeda returning tonight. Not doing it. If someone paid me $10 and put like $10 in my DraftKings account, I would still not use Kenta Maeda here. Just not going to do it.
Well, that's how I feel about Kenta Maeda, regardless of how he's been before.
Yeah, like you're taking such a huge risk, and like on this slate, like I just don't know that it's going to pay off. Like you're already taking a risk with a Dave Roberts pitcher anyways, and then you're getting a guy that's coming off the DL. Like it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, you mentioned it. I can foresee the David Roberts coming out 4.2 innings, pulls Kenta Maeda because he's given up 200 or 300 runs.
He walks the guy, and Dave Roberts comes out in the third inning and pulls him.
Yeah. Accidentally drops his glove on the mound. Dave Roberts comes out, pulls him.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of interest in picking on him, though, especially if a guy we don't know is going to go completely deep into this game. Usually I don't mind targeting a couple lefties, but I feel like there's still better ways to go here.
Yeah, I mean, if I was looking to attack it, it would be Chu, Mazzara, Gallo would be the guys I would look at. I know Chu, actually Mazzara may not even be in the lineup. I know he was a late scratch last night. May not make the lineup here, but Chu been pretty solid recently.
Yeah, he has. He's been heating up. It's still just it throws a ton of off-speed stuff that it gives a lot of swing and misses on.
Yeah.
So, Dodger side of things here, Cole Hamels. Looking at the right-handed bats, I don't mind taking some shots here. Like Matt Kemp's obviously been mashing lefties this year, 435 with 292 ISO and 51% contact rate. And obviously Justin Turner is a guy that I like to look at here.
Yeah, Turner's like my top third base option if I'm not using one of the Jed Jerkos or Yairo Munoz options from the Cardinals. Like, this is a really, really, really good spot for him. I mean, Hamels, a guy, has actually been good against the Dodgers in his career, like 189 ERA and 8 career starts against them. That is a little concerning, and it is the Dodgers, which is also in and of itself really concerning. But like, man, he's been getting hammered recently, and Turner, a guy, 292 ISO, 471 WOBA against lefties. Pretty good numbers there.
Yeah, it really is. And like Kemp has a 393 WOBA, 259 ISO against that cutter.
Yeah, Turner's numbers against cutters not great. Only 292 WOBA, 161 ISO, 50% hard contact rate, and like 83% contact rate though.
Yeah, 373 X WOBA on that cutter. So,
yeah. Austin Barnes, a guy that has decent numbers against it too.
Yeah, it's the righties here for me. It's just kind of whoever gets in the lineup, although I'm not a huge fan of like Kike Hernandez.
I don't hate him at like 3,300 on DraftKings. His price is down, so like I don't hate going there. I don't know. Max Muncy's still 429 ISO against lefties. It's really tough to overlook him too.
Yeah, homered again last night. He was one of your home run calls, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I got one.
yeah. I don't like he's second base eligible too, but I don't know. I still feel like there's a couple other guys I'd rather go, but if he's hitting cleanup, it's hard to say no, I guess.
Yeah, and I like him on DraftKings, first base, third base eligible.
Fernandez?
I was talking about Muncy.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. He's in play. And Austin Barnes, just has there's like 9 second basemen on the Dodgers.
If you look on DraftKings, like every player on the Dodgers roster is either outfield or second baseman at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I don't hate Chris Taylor at shortstop. 212 ISO against lefties this year.
No, he's fine too.
And has pretty good. Well, he's got okay numbers. 214 ISO against that cutter as well, but contact's not as strong.
No.
So, home run calls. Who do you got?
Scooter and let me go with Yairo Munoz.
I like it. Going Reese Lightning and Scott Schebler.
I was hoping you were going to say Matt Carpenter.
Come on, man. Come on. That's it for us. You can go to dayfantasycafe.com, check out our tools and content, and we'll be back on Friday.
Good luck tonight.